welcome. Take a moment to settle in. Allow your eyes to rest, your shoulders to soften, and the hum of the present, too quiet just enough for your mind to drift backward gently and without effort into a time long ago. Tonight we journey to the banks of the Nile, to a world of sand and stone, where the sun beats down with unrelenting certainty, and the rhythms of life are carved not just into the land, but into the very bones of the people who live there. We think we know ancient Egypt, the pyramids, the pharaohs, the gold and grandeur. But beneath the polished surface of tomb walls and temple carvings, there was another Egypt, one far more ordinary, far more human, and far more exhausting. This is the story of what it was really like, what it meant to work, to sweat, to fear, to worship, and to survive in a civilization that never stopped watching even in death. We'll begin with a day in the life of a tomb builder. We'll follow the footsteps of a heretic pharaoh who rewrote religion. We'll peer into the perfectly preserved village of Deir el-Medina, where secrets linger on every wall. And we'll finish among the priestly elite, whose world was gilded, guarded, and full of silent power. So, let your mind wander back to a distant desert morning. The sun is rising over Thebes, and your shift is about to begin. Segment 1. Why it sucked to be a tomb builder in ancient Egypt. Imagine yourself waking in the early dark. Just before the sun pierces the horizon, you lie on a reed mat inside a modest mud brick home. The air is still heavy with the lingering coolness of night and the scent of dust and straw. You hear nothing but the occasional stirrings of neighbors rousing themselves, because you are not alone here. You live in a village built for workers, built with intention, discipline, the clear knowledge that every hour of your life belongs to the state and to the dead. You are a tomb builder. More precisely, you are part of the team charged with constructing and decorating the tomb of a pharaoh's eternal resting place in the Valley of the Kings. You do not question your role. You do not ask why the dead require so much effort. You simply prepare. The village itself is called Setmat, the place of truth. It is a narrow settlement enclosed by walls, with only one guarded entrance. It exists for one purpose: to house the laborers, artisans, and scribes who serve the dead king. Your work is sacred. It's completely exhausting. Walk in a quiet line with others along the desert path to the valley. The sun rises fast and without mercy. There is little shade in the desert, and what little wind there is stirs only grit. The tomb entrance gapes like a wound in the limestone cliffside, and you step inside, carrying tools smoothed by many hands before you. Inside, it is cooler, but not quiet. The sound of chisels tapping, stone cracking, and commands being muttered in steady rhythm fills the narrow corridors. The walls begin smooth, bare, colorless. It is your job to change that. You may be a carver, your fingers aching from repetitive motion, shaping hieroglyphs with endless precision. Or perhaps a painter, mixing pigments from crushed minerals, malachite green, ochre yellow, lapis blue, each prepared with care, each applied under strict instruction. You work in cramped, dim conditions by flickering oil lamps that fill the tomb with smoke. You cannot make mistakes. A crooked symbol could mar a sacred spell. Wrong proportion in a figure might offend a god. This isn't art tits theology, rendered in color and line, and the pressure is immense, because you are not just working for a king. You are building a universe. The tomb is not decoration, it is transformation. The walls must tell a story of rebirth, of passage through the duat, the underworld. Every figure must face the right direction. Every offering must be in place, and you are tired. The schedule is rigid. You work 8 days on, then enjoy 2 days off. A system surprisingly progressive for the ancient world, yet still brutal under the desert's gaze. Sometimes there are festivals, sometimes gifts. But often there are punishments, disputes, accusations, surveillance. The village is watched by foremen, by scribes, and by unseen forces. You hear stories of curses, not the kind you might imagine, with dramatic incantations or sudden death, but subtler ones. whispers of illness, of misfortune, of mistakes followed by tragedy. And so, even the skeptical work with caution. Better to respect the dead than to risk their wrath. The tools are simple wooden mallets, copper chisels, stone polishers, but the task is not. You shape eternity, one stroke at a time, and when the sun sets, you walk back in silence. Your hands are raw, your clothes stiff with sweat, your mind full of lines and colors and spells. There is food waiting, perhaps a lentil stew, with flatbread and beer. You eat in the company of fellow workers. You talk, you complain, you dream of festival days, and then you sleep, because tomorrow it begins again. In Set Ma'at, the rhythm of life is constant, regulated, sacred, and utterly draining. Oh, you live among the living, but your true employer is the dead. Akhenaten, the pharaoh who changed everything now. Let us leave the dark corridors of tombs behind for a moment. Let us rise into the burning light of a very different Egypt, Tan Egypt in crisis, on the edge of religious revolution. The name Akhenaten may not come easily to mind, and that is no accident. He was, for a time, the most powerful man in Egypt. Then, almost as swiftly, he was scrubbed from memory, his name chiseled out, his monuments broken, his gods forgotten. But once he stood at the very heart of the empire, he dared to do what no pharaoh had done before or since. To understand his story, we begin in the middle of the 14th century BCE, during the powerful 18th dynasty. Egypt is rich, victorious in foreign wars, and governed by centuries of tradition. The gods are many, their temples vast, their priests powerful. And then comes Amenhotep, the fourth a young prince, son of Amenhotep III and Queen Tai. From birth, he is immersed in the rituals and expectations of royalty. But something in him is different. In the 5th year of his reign, this difference blooms into transformation. He changes his name from Amenhotep, Amen is satisfied, to Akhenaten, effective for the Aten. He rejects the old gods, he dismantles the temples, elevates a single deity, the Aten, the visible sun, Discas, the supreme and only true divine force. This is not a gentle shift, it is sweeping, it is absolute. Imagine it. The great temples of Amen shuddered. Statues dragged down, names carved off monuments. The priests of old gods silenced. The state religion dismantled from the top. Akhenaten does not merely reform, he rewrites. He builds a new capital, entirely from scratch. Its name is Akhenaten, the horizon of the Aten, located in what we now call Amarna. There, amid flat desert and empty sky, rises a strange new city, it's light and open. It lacks the heavy symmetry of traditional Egyptian architecture. It is populated by courtiers, artists, and officials who share the pharaoh's vision, or at least pretend to. Even the art changes. Gone are the rigid poses and eternal perfection of previous dynasties. In their place, flowing lines, tender family scenes, intimate moments. Akhenaten is shown with his wife Nefertiti and their daughters basking in the rays of the Aten. He appears elongated. It's almost androgynous, with narrow limbs and a swollen belly. Scholars still debate this shift. Was it symbolic, medical, ideological? Whatever the cause, the message is clear. This is a new world. But it is not a stable one. The empire begins to fray. Out in the provinces, vassals complain of neglect. Enemies stir. The old priesthood smolders in quiet resentment. Among the common people, confusion grows. The gods of their parents are gone. Temples lie quiet. The festivals cease. Akhenaten continues his devotions. He writes hymns to the Aten. He walks the city in procession. But the world beyond the city walls seems to be slipping from his grasp. Then he dies. Quietly, mysteriously, perhaps of illness, perhaps not. What follows is a rapid unraveling. A successor, possibly one of his sons, or perhaps a high-ranking official, rules briefly. Then comes a boy king, Tutankhaten, who promptly changes his name to Tutankhamun. The Aten is abandoned. The temples of Amen reopen. Akhenaten's city is deserted, his name struck from the king lists, his statues shattered. He is declared a heretic. And yet, the quiet sands of Amarna, fragments remain. Letters from foreign rulers, demanding answers. Sculptures of a royal family caught in private affection. Ruins of a city that once shimmered with sun and divine ambition. Akhenaten tried to remake the world. And for a moment, he did. But Egypt, eternal Egypt, reshaped itself once, again erasing the man who tried to change too much, too quickly. Let us now linger where his memory survived, quietly, beyond reach of the hammers and chisels. A village tucked away from the palaces and temples. A place where workers lived, dreamed, and wrote their truths on the walls. In the heat of Egypt's Valley of the Kings, where pharaohs found eternal rest, another story. It unfolds not of rulers, but of the common folk, the weavers and carpenters, the artists and masons who toiled in the shadow of the great tombs they built. Welcome to this house. Join me as we explore how archaeologists uncovered a lost Egyptian village and brought its hidden history to light. Our journey begins in a place both grand and somber, the Valley of the Kings. For centuries, the elite of ancient Egypt found their final resting place here. But while the valley is renowned for its magnificent tombs, it holds another kind of treasure. Nestled amidst the monumental legacy of pharaohs lies the humble village of Deir el-Medina, a community that has provided an extraordinary window into everyday life in ancient Egypt. The story of its discovery is almost as fascinating as its contents. In 1907, a team led by British archaeologist Bernard Bouguer began excavating a tomb in the Valley of the Kings. What they found wasn't a royal burial, but the entrance to a small village. This accidental discovery unveiled a settlement that had been remarkably preserved. Unlike the grandiose tombs of the pharaohs, Deir el-Medina was not intended to impress. It was a simple village where the workers who built and decorated the very tombs they were exploring now lived. What sets Deir el-Medina apart is the wealth of information it offers about daily life during a significant period in ancient Egypt's history. Specifically the New Kingdom, which flourished from around 1543 to 1292 BC. This era is celebrated for producing some of Egypt's most famous pharaohs, including Hatshepsut, Thutmose III, and Akhenaten, Nefertiti, and Tutankhamun. Yet despite the grandeur of its rulers, our understanding of daily life in New Kingdom, Egypt was surprisingly limited until the discovery of the village. This community thrived at the heart of the royal necropolis, a stone's throw from the entrances to many of the valley's most iconic tombs. Among them are those of Ramses III, perhaps the most powerful pharaoh of the New Kingdom, and his son, the boy king Tutankhamun, whose tomb, discovered in 1922, continues to captivate the world. These tombs, marvels of ancient engineering and art, were crafted by the very people who called Deir el-Medina home. Today, the village stands as a testament to the skill and artistry of the New Kingdom. Its houses, once bustling with life, are now silent witnesses to a bygone era. Mud brick structures with white plaster, they followed a uniform design, reflecting the close regulation that characterized life in the village. Each house was much like the next, boasting a central courtyard, rooms for sleeping and cooking, and in some cases, evidence of small businesses. Life here was communal, with houses hosting extended families under one roof. But the true charm of Deir el-Medina lies not in its architecture, but in its art. The walls of the houses are adorned with paintings depicting scenes from daily life. Workers can be seen at their craft, creating the very tombs they inhabited nearby. These images aren't just beautiful, they're a detailed record of the techniques and materials used in tomb construction. They also offer a glimpse into the social dynamics of the village, showcasing the hierarchy among the workers, from the overseers to the laborers. Beyond the functional aspects, these paintings reveal the humanity of the artists, their sense of humor, and their ability to find joy in everyday life. One particularly delightful series of paintings depicts a drunken party, complete with musicians, dancers, and revelers. Another shows men fishing, their expressions a mix of concentration and amusement. Even the domestic sphere wasn't immune to artistic expression. Scenes of women grinding grain, preparing food, and taking care of children became artistic motifs in themselves. What makes these paintings even more remarkable is the fact that they were created on the same walls that bore religious scenes depicting the pharaoh as a god and the glorification of the royal family. This blend of the mundane and the divine is a testament to the rich tapestry of life in ancient Egypt. It wasn't just about pharaohs and gods, it was also about the everyday experiences of ordinary people. The discovery of these paintings in the quiet village of Deir el-Medina challenged the long-held belief that ancient Egyptian art was solely confined to grand temples and royal tombs. It demonstrated that creativity wasn't restricted to monumental projects, but flourished even in the most unexpected places. Amidst the tombs of the pharaohs, Deir el-Medina offers a unique perspective on ancient Egyptian society. While the Valley of the Kings speaks of power and immortality, the village whispers tales of everyday life, of laughter and leisure, of work and worship. It's a reminder that history isn't just about the grand narratives, but about the countless stories of ordinary people who shaped our world. And if you thought the story of Deir el-Medina was fascinating, prepare to be captivated by our next tale. Join us as we delve into the mysterious world of Queen Nefertiti, whose bust has left archaeologists puzzled for over a century. Click the link to continue your journey through ancient Egypt and uncover the secrets of one of history's most enigmatic queens. As we wrap up our exploration of Deir el-Medina, let us take a moment to reflect on the profound impact this seemingly ordinary village has had on our understanding of ancient Egypt. What makes Deir el-Medina so remarkable is the sheer volume and variety of information it has yielded. Thanks to the efforts of archaeologists over the years, we have a wealth of data about daily life in ancient Egypt that we wouldn't have otherwise. The discovery of written documents in the village, such as astraca, tablets, and papyrus fragments, has been particularly enlightening. These written records, often overlooked in favor of the more glamorous artifacts like the paintings, provide an invaluable insight into the literacy rates, administrative practices, and economic activities of the time. For instance, the numerous administrative documents found in the village shed light on the system of record-keeping that Egyptians employed, giving us a better understanding of their governance and accounting practices. Moreover, the presence of school texts unearthed from the village suggests that literacy was more widespread than previously thought. Challenging conventional notions about ancient Egyptian society, Deir el-Medina also offers a unique window into the religious beliefs and practices of the ancient Egyptians. The discovery of household shrines and votive offerings within the village provides a personal touch to our understanding of religion in ancient Egypt. It moves us beyond the grand temples and monumental religious works to the intimate realm of daily worship. The excavation of a local cult center dedicated to the goddess Meretseger, believed to be the protector of the village, has given us a deeper appreciation for the role of local deities in people's lives. One of the most intriguing aspects of studying Deir el-Medina is the opportunity to understand the lives of the workers who built the magnificent tombs in the Valley of the Kings and Queens. These skilled artisans and laborers weren't just nameless contributors to monumental projects. They were individuals with families, hobbies, and concerns of their own. The discovery of graffiti and other informal artwork in the village allows us to see them as more than just workers. It lets us appreciate their sense of humor, creativity, and individuality. Moreover, the examination of the houses and personal belongings found in Deir el-Medina gives us an insight into the material culture of ancient Egypt, from the tools of their trade to their everyday objects. These items tell a story of a society with specific tastes, skills, and traditions. The analysis of these objects not only enriches our understanding of ancient Egyptian culture, but also helps us reconstruct the daily routines and customs of the people who lived there. Studying Deir el-Medina has also provided valuable information about the health and well-being of the ancient Egyptians. The discovery of medical texts and the analysis of skeletal remains from the village have revealed insights into their healthcare practices and common ailments. This information challenges preconceived notions about the quality of life in ancient Egypt and sheds light on the realities of living in a society with its own set of health issues. The excavation and study of Deir el-Medina continue to yield new discoveries and insights, demonstrating that there is still much to learn from this remarkable site. As research progresses, we can expect even more revelations about daily life, religious practices, and the society of ancient Egypt. Deir el-Medina is more than just an archaeological site. It's a portal to the past. It allows us to walk among the shadows of ancient Egypt's artisans, to see their homes, their workplaces, and their everyday lives. It's a privilege to explore this village because it reminds us that history is more than just dates and battles. It's the story of the people who lived, loved, laughed, and died in a time long gone. It's a story that deserves to be told, retold, and treasured. Thank you for joining us on this journey through time. If you've enjoyed this adventure, we invite you to stay tuned for more explorations into the world of ancient Egypt and beyond. Until next time, keep asking questions, keep seeking answers, and above all, keep exploring. The world is full of wonders waiting to be discovered. How the priestly elite lived. Opulent rituals and silent power let us now step away from the simple clay homes and dusty streets of Deir el-Medina and pass through tall gates, between polished columns, into a different world altogether. The world of Egypt's priestly elite. In the modern imagination, pharaohs dominate the image of ancient power, but for much of Egypt's long history, its true influence often resided elsewhere behind linen veils and stone walls, among men who rarely raised their voices, but whose decisions shaped the kingdom in silence. To be a high priest in ancient Egypt, especially during the New Kingdom, was to live a life of immense privilege cloaked in strict ritual. A strange tension of luxury and discipline. Let us begin with the temple itself. Imagine a place carved from white limestone, shaded by pylons that stretch into the hazy blue sky. Sacred pools shimmer in enclosed courtyards. Incense curls from bronze censers. The air smells of frankincense and myrrh, mingling with polished cedar and beeswax. It is quiet, and the busiest temple is not noisy. The halls are dark, lit only by narrow slits of sunlight and the faint flicker of oil lamps. Every surface is inscribed, walls, columns, ceilings, all filled with hymns, processions, star maps, offerings, gods. This was not merely a place of worship. It was a machine, operating on divine time. The priesthood managed it with precision. There were many ranks of priests, from humble incense bearers to powerful administrators. But the elite, the high priests of Amen, Ra, and others, were more than religious leaders. They were landowners, economists, politicians. Some temples controlled vast tracts of farmland. Grain, cattle, wine, linen all flowed into temple granaries. The priests then redistributed these goods to workers, artisans, and soldiers, effectively operating as a shadow government. And while pharaohs ruled by divine right, priests spoke for the gods. Each day followed a sacred rhythm. The pre-dawn stillness. A priest would rise from his sleeping mat, wash carefully, and don fresh linen white. He would chew natron to cleanse his breath. Every movement, every word had purpose. Then, barefoot, he would enter the temple's inner sanctum. No commoner could go there. Few even knew what it looked like. There, he would awaken the gods, statue unveiling it from its shroud, speaking sacred names, offering bread and incense, anointing it with fragrant oils. He would sing hymns, bow low, then wrap the statue once more and seal it within its shrine. The gods slept again. This divine caretaking was performed 3 times a day, never rushed, never missed. In between, the priests recorded offerings, read omens, performed rituals, and met with officials, some trained in astronomy. They were stewards of both the spiritual and intellectual life of Egypt. But for all this discipline, theirs was not a life of poverty. The high priests lived in spacious homes, surrounded by gardens, servants, and scribes. They wore fine linens, adorned with gold and faience jewelry. Their meals were rich. Roasted goose, figs, lentils, sweet beer. At times in history, high priests of Amen were so powerful they issued royal decrees, married into royal bloodlines, even ruled in all but name. And yet, their power was always hidden behind formality. It was ritualized, subtle, performed with bowed head and whispered phrase. There was danger too. A high priest who angered the wrong pharaoh might be exiled or quietly erased. A temple that overstepped its authority could be stripped of its wealth. Still, across centuries, the priesthood endured. Their scrolls shaped law and language. Their records preserved medicine, myths, and calendars. Their rituals kept the great machine of Egypt turning. They lived not for fame, but for continuity. Not to be remembered, but to ensure that memory itself endured. So tonight, as we leave these shadowed halls, imagine the hush that still lingers there. The quiet hum of generations tending to the divine, balancing power and prayer. And and walking always just behind the throne. Gentle reflections from the banks of the Nile. And so we gently close our journey through ancient Egypt. Not through battles or pharaohs' decrees, but through the lived experience of those who shaped its daily rhythms. You've walked beneath the burning sun beside the tomb builders of the desert cliffs, shared their cramped homes and whispered prayers, felt the pressure of time and divinity mingling in every stroke of the chisel. You've followed the rise and fall of a forgotten King Akhenaten, a man who reached beyond the heavens to grasp a single god's light, and found instead the quiet darkness of erasure. You've stepped into the preserved silence of Deir el-Medina, where the thoughts and jokes of ordinary workers echo, still on flakes of pottery and limestone, a village frozen in time, yet forever alive in its scribbled notes. And finally, you've passed into the inner chambers of the great temples, walked beside the priestly elite, men cloaked in linen and silence, whose power lived in ritual, not rule. What lingers now, perhaps, is not a single figure or event, but a texture, a rhythm, sense of what it meant to endure in a world so tightly bound to gods, to nature, to time. Ancient Egypt was many things: a place of ceremony, a place of toil, a civilization that stretched for thousands of years, yet was lived always in single days. Hot days, long days, quiet evenings beneath palm trees, the smell of grain and oil, the rustle of linen, the murmur of prayers to stars above. And now, as you rest, perhaps you hear the soft slap of the Nile's water against its banks, or the distant call of an ibis through the reed beds. Perhaps you feel the heavy stillness of the desert air settling around mud brick walls. Perhaps you imagine the distant glow of a single oil lamp flickering in a stone chamber, hidden behind the temple's thick doors. You are far from the clamor of the modern world, and far too from the noise of great conquests and glittering treasures. Here, in this quiet, is history, not loud, not fast, but steady, patient, enduring. Thank you for joining me. Sleep well, and may the gods of old guard your rest tonight.